All right, channel news. Got my notes. First thing, I'm going to start posting an intro at the beginning of every news video. My name is Patrick, in case you don't know. It's not Jack, although some people call me Jack. The channel name is Jack Crafty, but my name is Patrick. Okay. I've got a lot of videos. The number in front of each video, if you look, you'll notice there's a number in front of each video. That's how many videos I'm up to. Like this one here, I'm not sure what the number is, but I've got over 1,900 videos. So if you wanted to look up something in Flintknapping and you want to see if I've done it, just type in a search with Jack Crafty and then whatever you're searching for. Like Jack Crafty Obsidian, Jack Crafty Amoeba Chert, Jack Crafty Tools, whatever you're searching for, just put Jack Crafty in front of it and then type in what you're looking for. Hit the return button and some videos of mine should come up on the topic if I've covered it. Okay, sometimes it doesn't work all that well, but usually it works. I've tried it just to make sure. And if you don't see something that you want to see, or if you want to see an update, just ask me in the comment section. Okay. In the comment section, I also post links to rock sources, tools sources, and sources for other stuff. I also try to post a nap-in list. That's the number one priority. I post a nap-in list in the comment section as a comment. The reason why I do that in the comment section and not the description box is because the comment section can hold literally thousands of times more information than the description box. Okay? Now, let me know if the links that I post do not work. Let me know if you're not able to click on the links. There might be some settings that prevent you from clicking those links on your end. If there are, let me know what they are so that I can explain to people that you need to turn it off so you can click links. Okay? And whatever else you can think of that would be a good addition to the channel, just ask me or tell me in the comment section. Okay? All right, coming up, what's coming up on the channel? I've got another big piece of obsidian I'll be napping. But this is actually a dacite. I'm calling it a dacite because it doesn't look exactly like an obsidian. It's not transparent. I know some obsidians are not transparent, but this feels more like a dacite or dacite than obsidian. Obsidian to me is a lot more shiny than this. This one has a little bit of grain to it, and it's not as nice as obsidian as far as being able to run flakes any way you want. Sometimes this stuff has a strange property in that you can nap it well in one direction, but in the other direction it doesn't nap well. So anything that's not really good glass-like stuff, I call dacite. The good glass-like stuff I call obsidian. But that's just me as a napper. Geologists have their own way of classifying this volcanic stuff, this amorphous volcanic solid. Okay? What else? Oh yeah, I'll be doing small arrowheads. Okay? Mainly small arrowheads coming up. Can you see? No, can't see. I'm running out of big stuff, which is okay because I don't nap. I don't like napping, and I don't nap much of the big items. But I will be napping this big piece of obsidian as an exception, okay? Because my friend Brian sent me a bunch of this stuff, and it's really good. I think it's good. It's not good for beginners, so don't get the idea that this kind of dacite is good for beginners. I used to recommend dacite to beginners. I don't recommend it anymore. For beginners, I should probably put this in the intro. Beginners should start with the best quality material. Okay? So start with high quality. And the best high quality material that you can get for free is glass. Okay? What types of glass? Because there are types. Don't just go down to Home Depot or Lowe's and get the glass tiles, because those are tempered glass. They're going to nap differently than the best glass. The best glass, quote unquote, because it's my subjective opinion, is bottle glass in three different colors. Okay. Uh, First rule, this is separate from the colors. The first rule, I'm writing this as I speak because I want to keep track of what I said. The first rule is the darker, the better. Okay? Darker, the better. So what about clear? Is it dark? It's the opposite of dark. So it's the worst. Clear is the worst to start with in every respect. Nappability, danger from shards and these little flakes that you can't see, and just difficult to see the edges and surfaces as you're napping. Clear is the worst glass to start with. The most dark glass you can get is the best. Sometimes you can find really dark glass. Uh, I've been looking for sources for black glass. It seems the only way I can get black glass is to spend a whole lot of money and buy it by the pound or buy it by the block. It's some ridiculous amount of money. It's like $30 a pound or something. I don't know, for blocks. The thin pane glass for like stained glass windows, that's cheap, but it's so thin that it's difficult to make, stuff like this out of that's substantial. Anything 3 inches or more for glass, black, solid black glass, which is the best in my opinion, it's extremely expensive. And the reason is, I think, is because glass blowers use that glass in their artwork, and they use little bits here and there. It's not a big deal if it costs a lot for a block of glass because they only use a little at a time. But as nappers, we use this kind of stuff. This is at least 5 pounds, maybe more, right? So you can see how ridiculously expensive that would be, even if it's $10 a pound, which I think it's more than that. But yeah, last time I checked, if I wanted to order a single piece of glass block tile for construction in solid black, it was like 30 bucks a brick or something like that. And then you had to add shipping onto that. Right? Because it's decorative in that case. And it's probably tempered too, so it might not be that good. But anyway, the darker the better. The stuff that you can get that's dark is in wine bottles mainly, and some liquor bottles. Start with the darkest glass possible, and then the three colors are the brown, green, and blue. Okay? The darker the brown, the better. The darker the green, the better. And the darker the blue, the better. Okay? What about purple and olive color stuff? And what about breaking up flat bottles and that sort of thing? Knock yourself out. Try everything. I don't recommend the flat bottles because for some reason those are tempered differently than the round bottles and they don't nap as well. Okay, so what you'll be doing mainly is bottle bottoms. You can nap the neck of the bottles, which has thicker glass, but it's more tricky. It's not for beginners, it's for advanced nappers. The necks of the bottles, I think, are a good source, but it's tricky. And you're only going to be able to get very narrow arrowheads out of it. What else can I say about beginners? If you don't want to nap glass as a beginner, or if you hate it, which is fine, the best stone to get is heat treat. Anything heat treated. It's expensive, yeah. But If you want to save yourself some time and maybe even money, invest in heat treat and invest in heat treat spalls and flakes, not chunks. Okay. The flakes are usually cheaper than the spalls and large bifaces or whatnot. Get heat treat flakes and just nap around the edges, and you'll get the hang of it. And then I think you'll be able to save money in the long run, so you don't have to buy, 80 to 100 pounds and try to get something nappable out of these big old so-so quality chunks. If you get heat treat, you'll save money versus more of the bad stuff. If you get less but good stuff, I think you may even save money, especially if you're going back and forth between heat treat stone and glass. Glass is free in most cases, so just keep that in mind. When I was beginning, I did not like napping glass at all. Not at all. It didn't do anything that I wanted it to do, and I didn't have any artifacts, so to speak, to look at made of glass. So it wasn't like I was trying to reproduce something. I was just napping it for the sake of napping it. That was boring to me. I wanted it to look like something in the past. When I first started, I wanted everything to look like something in the past. So I stuck with stone. But I should have napped more glass. Yeah. Another benefit of glass, other than being free, is it'll help you with your cleanups, your habits for protecting yourself, and your habits of cleaning up your shop. I know that's a, trivial, boring thing to talk about, but keeping your area free of danger to yourself and others is a high priority. Now, what about dust? I should talk about dust also. What about silica dust? And what about glass dust? Which is worse, if any, or are they both terrible, or are they both no big deal? Okay, first, glass dust. Glass dust is less dangerous than stone dust. Why? Because the silica on the molecular level in the dust is different. All right? With glass, it's amorphous, which means it's all chaotic. With rocks, the dust has crystals in it that are orderly. Now, the difference is with rock dust, when you breathe it in, the fine dust, it deposits in the lungs, same with glass dust. But the silica dust actually has a chemical reaction with the tissues and the chemicals and compounds actually on the surface of the lungs, on the inside surface of the lungs. It has a chemical reaction that causes irritation in many people. And it's that irritation that causes scar tissue and problems with being able to breathe. Whereas glass dust doesn't have that chemical reaction. It can build up and cause scarring, but it's mechanical, it's not chemical. So even though glass dust can be hazardous, it's my understanding that silica dust is much more hazardous because of the chemical reaction within the lungs. And if I'm wrong, just tell me in the comment section. But that was my research. So, the moral of the story is silica dust is dangerous. Yes. Or, exposure over long periods. Glass dust, not so much. Okay? So if you start with glass, just remember that's another benefit of starting with glass is it's less hazardous on your lungs. Now, you're more apt to cut yourself, especially with little shards in your eyes and stuff, and then rub your eye or whatever. Yeah, it's more common to get that kind of injury with glass. But go back to the cleanup discipline. You'll learn that you need to wash your face and wash your hands and arms after working with glass, and that's a good practice to get into with stone as well. This is all for beginners. So I hope you guys that have been watching the channel a long time are not too bored right now. Another thing about silica dust, short exposures, you'll have some people saying that you can get cancer or lung disease from even short exposures to silica dust. And I think that's overstated. One reason is you don't hear about, let's say, for example, people that hang out on the beach or people that live near beaches getting lung cancer because of the dust from the silica and the sand that's always in the air. You don't hear about that. And that's constant low-level exposure on a daily basis. Why don't you hear about lung cancer among beach dwellers or people who spend a lot of time around sand and all the dust that gets kicked up from that? Just, think about that one. So low levels of exposure are not going to be a big deal. It's when you're confined and you have high levels of dust, especially the fine particles that get down deep into the lungs. Most of the particles get stopped in your mucous membranes before it gets down deep in your lungs, and you end up coughing it out or swallowing it in the mucus. Okay? What else can I say about that? I don't think I'll go over that too much in the introductions to these news videos. I think you get the idea. Now, if you want to invest in masks for dust, don't waste your money on dust masks. The kind that are just simple, single barrier masks. You have to get what they call a respirator, which is a mask that covers your face, usually made of plastic or rubber, and then filters on the side, either one filter or two filters or one in the middle. Those filters are multi-layer and they have very small, or the ability to capture very small particles down to almost the molecular level. Okay? Those are the ones that work against silica dust. The ones that are just simple masks for sawdust, they don't work on rock dust. Yeah, it'll filter out the big particles. Okay, fine. If you're sensitive to stone, like some people are sensitive to stone dust and they just get sinus headaches constantly, yeah, you can wear a mask, but don't be fooled into thinking that wearing the mask is going to help prevent deep lung tissue damage from the fine particles, because the fine particles of the rock dust will go right through those simple masks. You actually need a respirator with filters that have been designated by whatever organization and whatever agency, government agency has approved of that particular filter. They have to be approved. It has to say right on there, approved for silica. Those are highly expensive. Moral of the story. If you want to get masks for dust, they are highly expensive. If you're not spending a lot of money on masks, you're not being protected. People will say, well, wear a mask, wear a mask. Make sure it's the right kind of mask. Okay? All right. Let's see, what else? Now, do I wear a mask? No, I usually don't wear a mask unless I'm working with wood and lots of sawdust. Then I will wear a mask because I have sensitivity to certain wood, certain sawdusts, and certain things within the wood, like molds and stuff that are in the wood. So I will wear a mask when woodworking. Not with if I'm whittling, no. But if I'm sawing or sanding, I have to wear a mask when I'm woodworking. So I don't have anything against wearing masks. I just normally don't wear masks when I'm flintknapping because, one, it's a distraction, and two, it's not going to do any good with the fine particles. Anyway, I'm just fooling myself if I think I'm protecting my health in any meaningful way with just a simple cheap mask from rock dust. With sawdust, yes, I am protecting myself because those cheap masks do catch the sawdust. Okay. Let's see. All right, changing the subject. I will be building carbon shafted arrows this fall. I just ordered a bunch. Now I ordered them in the raw state, unpainted, because it's the cheapest that way, and many different spine weights. So when I get them in, I'll be looking at these carbon shafts, looking at how to paint them so they look natural, looking at the spine weights compared to the weights that are written on them. The spine weight written on these shafts that I'm buying range from 600 to 900. And I think that's the deflection on a spine weight scale for arrows. The deflection, the more of a deflection, the lower the spine. So the higher the number on these carbon shafts, the weaker the shaft is. I know it's opposite of what it would seem to be, right? But I'll be giving you the information that I'm recording for, what is the spine for a 900 something carbon arrow? I don't know what they designate. Is it 900 pound or just 900? I didn't look at it closely. I just ordered a bunch of shafts. The reason I didn't look at it closely because it doesn't matter. I'm going to be using my spine tester to spine these out. All I know is that I'll be building 50-pound bows and below. I won't go up above 50 pounds for the bows that I'm making coming up on the channel. It'll be 50 pounds and below, all the way down to 20-pound bows because my daughter wants one. And when she gets hers, the other ones are going to want some. So, yeah, you can shoot a 20-pound bow and it can be effective. I don't know if you've ever shot a 200 grain arrow, but they go pretty fast out of a 20-pound bow. So it's not a big deal. And you can have fun with them. Now, hunting with the 200 grain arrow, I don't know, unless you're hunting chipmunks. Okay, anyways, where was I? I'll be doing that this fall. I don't know why it's a month out to get those. I ordered them and it's a month out. I think it's because of the demand right now in hunting season. All right. So I'll be figuring out how to paint them so they look natural. I'll be adding wooden nocks and wooden foreshafts to those by just epoxying in wooden dowels or something. I'll be shaping them before I insert them into the ends of the carbon. Now, I think someone told me that doesn't work all that great to insert wood as a knock or as a foreshaft. They said this doesn't work that great. I'll be testing it out and see how well it works. I think it'll work okay as long as I have a tang long enough, inch long or so, and then epoxy it into to the end of the carbon arrow shaft. That part of the shaft will be parallel. Now, I'm thinking of if I wanted a tapered or a barrel-shaped arrow, I'll just put a long foreshaft on it that's tapered down. And if I want the end of it on the fletching side or the shaftment to be tapered down, I'll just put a long shaftment on the back and then taper that down. Now, how well that will work, especially in the shaftment carbon shaft connection, how well that will work is a mystery right now. I know it works with atlatl darts, but I haven't tried with arrows connecting the shaftment to the main shaft. That joint there might not be strong enough, but with 50-pound bows and below, there shouldn't be an issue. I think that's an issue, that connection there in the shaftment area. I think there's an issue there with compound bows. I'm not going to be doing any compound bows. The only ones I make are traditional flat bows, long bows, self bows mainly, which means single piece of wood. They're not going to be fiberglass augmented or laminated. I will do some backed bows. There's two types of backed bows. There's cable backed and then sinew backed with a layer of sinew or several layers. There's cable backed bows with one cable or several cables, wound together. There's sometimes you have a single cable which is also, you know, wound together. But sometimes you'll see, like some of these Eskimo bows, you'll see several strands together on the back of the bow as a cable. We'll get into that later, but you know what I mean if you've done research on bows. So I will be doing backed bows of those two types and self bows. No laminated bows unless I put a handle on it. I may laminate some handles onto the bows. Okay, you know, two piece, the main bow and then an extra piece to make the handle more substantial. Okay. Spliced bows. I've never made a spliced bow. I don't think. No. I may do a spliced bow. I think there's a lot of potential in that, but I don't have storage space to store all these parts for bows. So usually I make a bow and then I use it for a little bit, I test it out and I send it off. Either sell it or give it. I don't keep any bows. I've got like 2 bows for myself, maybe 3. 3 bows. That's it for myself. Let's see what else. Someone asked me today about a source for asphaltum, glue. If you want to go the natural route, you have to buy something called gilsonite. Oh, I think I'll put that in the description or in the comment section, how to spell that. Gilsonite, 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 or asphaltum in a powdered form, powdered gilsonite or powdered asphaltum, if you want to go the natural route. Now, you can heat that up because it's a hot melt. It's the ancient hot melt, right? Other than pine pitch and that sort of thing. So, but the thing is, with gilsonite or asphaltum powder, this stuff is mined out of the ground, so it's a solid basically. And when you heat it up, it does melt, but it bubbles a lot. It bubbles to the point where it's almost unusable when it cools down. You heat it up, it bubbles, it melts, and then it cools down, and it's very porous, and it breaks apart. It's very crumbly. So what you do is you have to mix either pine rosin with it or some other natural ingredient to keep it gooey. You can add gum base to it. That's my favorite combination, is gilsonite or asphaltum, same thing, and gum base together, 50-50. Or I think it's 50-50. Anyway, you can experiment with that. Same with pine rosin, 50-50 with the powdered asphaltum or powdered gilsonite, to get the feel of how it was back in the day. Now, it's not exactly how it was back in the day, because a lot of asphaltum that they used in ancient times was gathered on seashores from the asphaltum that would float on the top or leak into the ocean and then drift onto the shores and deposit as a gooey substance and remain gooey. It remains gooey for a long time. And that stuff, when you melt it, does not bubble up. Okay? That's what was used primarily in the past. And there was a lot of it to be had because it just keeps washing up. At that time, petroleum was not mined. So these blobs were everywhere along different beaches. And they could be traded. These blobs can be traded between tribes that lived on the shore and tribes that lived inland. Okay, it was a trade item. It was a heavily traded item, these blobs of asphaltum. Nowadays, all that stuff is mined, so you don't see much of it naturally. Okay, unless you're near a very prolific source of it. I'm looking up on the hill because I see a woodchuck I don't get to see them very much. And that looks like a little one. It's not the one I normally see. No, that's actually a huge rat. Okay, never mind. Yeah, it's a rat. Wow. It looked like a small woodchuck or a small groundhog. Anyway, uh, that's the ADHD. Ooh, squirrel. Ooh, rat. So I hope that answers that question. Did I go over gum base? You use it for making chewing gum. You can buy it in kits that you can make your own gum with. You can buy a kit to make your own gum because you add your own flavors and you can be all persnickety about it. Or you can just go out and buy sugarless chewing gum and mix it with the asphaltum powder. Make sure it doesn't have a lot of flavorings or scents in it, because then you won't get the true smell of the asphaltum if you want to have the true experience. You know what I mean? Or as close to the true experience. After a while, you'll get to notice what it smells like when you heat up the asphaltum or the gilsonite, and you'll be able to detect if something has that gilsonite or asphaltum in it when it burns. Like certain inks, the old-time newspapers had asphaltum as a pigment and that sort of thing. And when it burns, you can kind of smell it. And you can also smell it in black hot melt glue. I think they use the asphaltum or gilsonite as a pigment in the black hot melt. And it also bubbles as well. So there's two things that give it away: the scent of the black hot melt and the bubbling. If you melt it at a temperature that's too high, the black hot melt, if you put it in a heat gun, no, put it in a glue gun that has a high setting, the black hot melt glue will bubble, which you don't want. Now, how did they make the black hot melt glue? It's the artificial resin mixed with the powdered asphaltum or powdered gilsonite. Okay, and you can do that yourself too. You can mix your powdered gilsonite with the clear hot melt sticks or whatever. You can mix it with beeswax too, but you got to remember, Native Americans did not have beeswax until the Europeans came over. Okay, there are bees that are native to the Americas that were able to make waxy type things in their nests, but they were not honeybees in the same way uh, as the European or African type of honeybees. The New World didn't have that type of bee, so remember that. Uh, does it work with asphaltum, the beeswax? I've never had luck using a beeswax with any type of glue. I always get something that's too brittle or gummy. It's gummy, but it doesn't stretch like chewing gum. It breaks. It's gummy and it breaks. I never found it to be good at all for anything. Now, I think you can put up to 10% by volume or by weight, I don't know which one, of beeswax with pine pitch or some other type of natural glue. I've tried it. I've never gotten to the point where it worked for me, even down to like 5%. I must have been using material or natural glue that was way too brittle or something. Anyway, there's that. Can you use straight beeswax to glue arrowheads? No, don't try. Well, you can try it. It won't work that well at all. It doesn't hold them. It's not rigid. It's not hard enough either. What about store-bought? I'm getting into glues now. What about store-bought roofing tar? Can you use that? Yeah, you can use store-bought roofing tar. You can use store-bought black caulking from the caulking tubes. in the caulking gun. All that kind of stuff can be used. Some of it is water-based. Some of it is heat-based as far as making it liquid. If you want to use store-bought roofing tar, you've got to add something like a powdered charcoal or a powdered talc or powder, some kind of like maybe brick dust, something powdered and mineral, not sugar, but powdered mineral, maybe salt. I don't know, that might work, in order to stiffen it up because it's too gooey. If you want to go that route, just so it looks like asphaltum, you can buy this these other things that look like asphaltum. I'm just trying to save you some time. Some of you might like experimenting with it. That's fine. All right, coming up, more of what's coming up. Unboxings, small arrowheads. I already said that. Obsidian, and I'll be trying to use these adze handles with different blades. Two different types of adze handles. Same principle. The adze blades are the same general shape. It's just the handles are slightly different. This one is, as you can see, tree limbs at a 90-degree angle. This is what most people consider to be an adze handle. Let's see, the Iceman had one like this, except his blade was mounted like this, not like that. When it's mounted like this, which is perpendicular to the long axis of the handle here, that's an adze. If it's mounted in there like that, it's called an axe. Uchi's was an axe. And he also had a bulbous backside to the axe, which is probably a weapon, a blunt weapon. In my opinion, the whole thing that Uchi had was a weapon. Both the axe and the bulbous backside of the axe served as weapons. Okay, blunt weapon and sharp weapon. I don't think he used it to carve anything with at all. I think it was a weapon, in my view. All right. I prefer this type, especially for the kind of work I do on foreshafts and small wooden projects, is just a one piece handle, one stick of wood with a notch cut in the top that it's notched, and then a hole drill down below. You can do that with natural tools. You can use a stone drill to do that, and stone to carve all the rest of this. And then you just lash. I put some lashings around in this direction just to prevent splitting right here above the hole. Now, if it's a Y in a natural state, you don't have to worry about lashing it like this. But this was just a straight section out of a branch. If it was a Y, the intersection of the Y can be placed right there, and it'll be strong. And then you just lash your little adze blade. This one is too weak. I chipped it quite a bit trying to use it. I had to put in a fatter one. Anyway, I'll be trying to use these, and then trying because of the time factor. I don't have much time, but also I'll be what? Changing blades with different materials. And I'll be using some of this stuff for flint knapping. I can use this as a flint knapping tool if I put a piece of antler or bone in here for a knapping tool specifically designed for knapping. It doesn't have the tip shape like this, of course. You'll see. And I can also do that with this. I can put different things in here as a flint knapping tool. Okay? I'm giving away my secrets just because I'm not into this the testing that's going to come up as far as how did I make these flakes. As far as that testing goes and the demonstration goes, testing how good you are, identifying what made what. As far as that goes, I don't want to fool you or try to make it too difficult. The purpose is to learn that there are more than one way. There's more than one way to make the same kind of flake. So, but I'm going to be using these two tools, among others, to make those tests for you. Okay? And I'll probably sneak in a couple that you've never seen. Now, how do I know you've never seen some of these? Yeah, it's a big, bold claim that you think that we've never seen it because we've seen everything. Yeah, I read the whole internet twice. Yeah, well, some of you have, believe it or not. What was that? Remember when Twitter posted the announcement that they're going to stop people from data scraping, which means they're reading tens of thousands of Twitter entries and collecting data for who knows what. They limited it down to like 6,000 or 8,000 tweets. Some people, this is getting around to the point, some people can read 6,000 posts or more in one day. If you're that kind of reader, you can read the whole internet as it pertains to Flintknapping in probably less than a year. And so you've seen everything. Now, watching all the videos is another thing. But I think if you're selective enough, you can get an idea of what's out there. And if you have participated in the forums for more than 5 years, which I have, almost everything has come up in the forums as, does this work? Did that work? I saw this. Do you know where this comes from? And la la la. You have a pretty good idea. But I've been on forums since 2007 or earlier, 2005. That's almost 20 years. I've seen quite a bit. Now, I'm usually the last to know something, but not in Flintknapping, because I have an obsession with looking up everything having to do with Flintknapping. It has to do with the autism, I think. Yeah. I haven't seen anything new in a while. And usually people ask me, have you seen this and have you seen that? Oh, look at this, look at that, look at this. Yeah, I've seen it. Really? Yeah, like 8 years ago. Really? Wow, I just saw it 8 days ago. That kind of thing. I'm not gonna brag about it. In fact, I spent way too much time on the internet looking at Flintknapping stuff, but I'm pretty sure I can find ways or come up with ways that you've never seen. Yeah. It's not that difficult, really. I can make it meaningfully different. It might look the same in general, but there's a learning curve. As long as there's a substantial learning curve, like it takes a couple of weeks to get used to it, not a couple hours, but a couple of weeks, and you're fumbling with it at first, and then you get good at it, I will consider that a significantly different way. Okay, so it's not like, well, I used the curved antler instead of a straight one, so you got it wrong because you said straight. No, I'm not going to be that picky. Okay. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just watch the previous video on my previous news video. So I'm going to be doing these challenges on how, asking, how did I make this? How did I do it? And then I'll show you the finished piece on video, and then I'll cut off the video, and I'll maybe wait a day or two and post the whole process later. I'll give people time to ponder how it was made. I'll get a close-up of the item, and I'll show it in 3D on video. I might even save some flakes if they're intact. Saving the flakes from each strike is going to take me way too much time, but I may do it on certain flakes, especially if it's an easy to find flake that's from a large flake or a large portion. That way I can easily identify it in the pile of debitage and take it out and label it. And the label will fit on the flake itself, okay? So those are the criteria for showing you the flake. It's got to be big enough both for me to find it and label it, and for you to see it on video, and for it to be intact and not a bunch of shatter. Because some flakes, they look like it's a single flake, but to pick up the remnants, it's all shatter. It's just a bunch of crumbs, but it looks like a solid flake on this finished piece. I think you can see that on video. If you didn't know that, now you know. Okay, what else? I think that's it. I already want to get to my next video for the day. I don't know how long this weather is going to last, this good weather. All right, that's it.